guess we need an intro. Let's go.
Hey there, Steve here. Quick thank you for checking out the episode, and quick apologies as well for the audio quality in this episode. A few teething problems as we got going, but we've got it sorted out now. It will be only in this episode.
Let's go.
Hello everybody, thank you very much for coming back to, this is episode 2 of the podcast, Exitpreneur 360. Thank you for clicking play, thank you for joining me, thank you for taking the time to listen. Basically, I've created this podcast to document my journey. I think it's an interesting journey that I'm on, and I think you'll find it interesting too. So my journey at the moment is I left my job, walked away from the security of salary and comfort of what I'd known, all the familiarity of what I'd known, and become an entrepreneur. I'm exiting the safety zone, and I'm chasing after my purpose and what I think is my purpose. I'm not there yet, but I want you to follow and watch me get there. That's really what the journey is about. Joined again by Simon. If you don't know who Simon is, go catch episode 1 and give a little bit of a brief intro to Sim there. Sim, thank you for being here. Nice to have you back. Thank you for helping me with this project.
Thanks, Steve. For whatever little help I can provide.
No, you're great. And listen, you're my partner in this initial stages of doing this. I know it's something which you and I have spoken about. It's a little bit out of your comfort zone, which is quite cool. For me, it's super cool that I'm pushing someone out of their comfort zone along with me, if you know what I mean.
I think you caught me at a weak moment.
It's fine. Hopefully I'll get you a more weak moment. But it is. And I think that as I said, I'm so happy that I'm bringing someone out of their comfort zone as I'm exiting my comfort zone, because it's been the most exhilarating and most freeing experience to walk away from security and familiarity and back to what I know is my purpose, away from what I know was not my purpose, if you know what I mean. So, and it's rediscovery. It's very discovery. And I think, and I've said this to you multiple times, I believe you're going to discover a purpose for yourself in this, because I think you as an orator of some kind, as a talker, as a podcaster, whatever it is, I think that there's a naturalness to this in you. But we'll get to that stage.
We'll leave that to explore later.
So this episode is all about, on the journey was, I wanted to discuss really, if people are following along and they've gone through the first episode, they know what my journey is and where I'm at. But, what was the last straw? What was the thing that pushed me over the edge that said to me, hey, dude, you got to get out of this. It's not good for you. It's not healthy for you. And you've got to get back to what you know is your truth and what is your purpose and all that stuff. So my reality when I came to this realization was, Tim, you know a little bit about this. Obviously, you and I we've known each other for our whole lives, basically. But my reality when this all came about was I was living in the USA, as you know. I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and I was living there, working for the corporate business that I was in. At that time, I think I was still COO. No, I wasn't. I think I was may have been COO. I was just getting moved out of the COO role and into the CRO role. And I was there to build the business and to grow the corporate business, which was, I had a share in, but it was not my business. While I was out there in the USA, very quickly I was kind of stuck going through green card applications, being told that you weren't allowed to leave the country until you had a travel, they called it a parole card and all these things. I was literally stuck away from my family, from my support, from my friends, from what I had known my whole life. And really, as I started to take stock of what was going on around me in terms of getting into Los Angeles culture, and with respect to anybody who's in Los Angeles, from Los Angeles, the shittiness of the people there, the un-Africanness of it. That's what I say to people when they ask me, what was life in Los Angeles like? I'm it's very un-African. We as Africans, it's not a rant about Los Angeles, so I won't go into this, but we as Africans, we have a very special superpower that most people around the world, I feel, don't have. We have this ability to just be nice and look out for each other and look out for other people around us. We're not harsh, we're not conniving. For the most part, we have your exceptions, but America was a really tough place, and that made it even worse being stuck in that environment. And slowly, as I was working in the business, I started to get this feeling of same, day in, day out. It was the same rhythms in terms of meetings. It was the same spreadsheets. It was the same people. It was the same tasks. It was the same board meetings, executive meetings, weekly rhythms, whatever it was. And it was just what I was doing on a day-to-day basis, not only was I far away from any kind of support or any kind of familiarity, but I was now stuck in a job that was too familiar. It was too boring. It was too same. And over and above that, I'd also kind of just turned 40. You know about my personal story. I just lost my dad. And there was 100,000%. Eleanor, my ex-girlfriend, always talks about this in terms of it's a midlife crisis you're going through. And she couldn't have been more spot on. It was 100% a 40-year-old midlife crisis.
Not without reason, though.
No, 100%. And potentially the worst environment that you could actually be in to have a midlife crisis is, oh no, let's give you a midlife crisis and let's remove you from any kind of familiarity or security or community that you have, and then just say, go live in one of the world's most expensive cities where people are kind of shit and no one really wants to know you. You're on your own. In fact, they're actively trying to get one over on you kind of thing.
But your power was taken away. I mean, just because you weren't allowed to leave. So that probably made it more appealing to leave. Like you always want what you can't.
It's the old story of if you tell someone they can't do something, what is the first thing they want to do? They want to do that thing.
Not dismissing the fact that you didn't really want to have that ability to leave.
100%. And I think, and I think it's so funny because if you had said to me back then, my power was taken away, I would have been like, you're right, this is so shit, my power's been taken away. The minute that came out of your mouth, I sat there, I was like, no, my power had been taken away. I took my power away. I put myself in that situation. And that goes so much into what I want to talk about today in terms of mindset shift, because back then I would have said, I would have been a victim. I would have said, this is so unfair. My power's been taken away. It's not my fault. I look at it now, 2 years later, and with going through the mindset shift that I've gone through over the last 2 years, and I go, no, that was your own doing. Take responsibility for it. Man up and acknowledge that you did that to yourself. You made the best out of it because that's who I am as a human.
Well, you were following a path at the time, and it was a set of circumstances that led you there.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. I thought I was on the right path. But slowly as I went through that, and as I got into that mundaneness of day-to-day, same rhythm, and feeling that isolation from everyone, I started to really feel that I was stuck and I was not doing what I should have been doing. I wasn't getting the recognition that I wanted from the job that I was doing. I was working with guys that I'd worked with for many years now. I was also felt like I was making other people rich working in their business, even though I was a shareholder. I wasn't the shareholder that I wanted to be, and I wasn't working on my dream. I was working on someone else's dream. And it became a situation where I basically one day was sitting on the couch in LA. I was sitting there, and also the hours were shit. I was up at like the most random hours, 5 a.m., 10 p.m. at night, kind of thing, doing meetings.
Chasing the sun.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the worst. And I can acknowledge doing that if you're a surfer, but if you're doing it because of corporate Zoom meetings, you're doing the wrong thing. And I was just sitting on the couch one morning between meetings, and I'm kind of just staring out the window, thinking to myself, like, what if nobody's coming to save me? What if nobody's actually going to come open the door and say, hey, Steve, this isn't right for you. Maybe you should be doing something else. Or, hey, Steve, let's give you something else. Like, what if your opportunities are being saved that were over? And I pose the same question to the listeners. If you're in a situation, you've got that same mentality, what if nobody's coming to save you? What if the only way for you to change this shit reality that you're in is for you to sit up and go, hey, this is on me. I need to do it. And when I had that moment, it's a moment of clarity that I'll never forget until the day I die. I'll always remember that moment of sitting on that couch, staring out the window, thinking, fuck, man, maybe this is it. Like, if I want this to change, it's on me. And it made me think, you knew my father, my late father, who was a bit of a grub, bit of a funny kind of guy. He said it as it was. And one of the most famous things that he ever shared, or one of the things that I'll always remember he shared with me, was whenever somebody would say, how's it, Leon? How are you doing? How are you? Okay. He would always turn around and say, nobody cares, bro. And he would always say it as a joke, because, generally we are trained, and it's in our communication to just ask someone how they're doing, but generally, do we give a shit? Not really. We're just trying to get to what's in it for us so we can move on and say, hey, thanks, I don't really care how things are going, but I need you to do X, Y, and Z for me, or I need to find out where that is. And he always used to say, hey, nobody cares. And it's something that I adopted, and it's like when people say to me, hey, how are you doing? No one really cares. I'm doing fine, but no one really cares. And it's so funny because when I realized that no one really cares, it wasn't a depressing, horrible, feel sorry for me thought. It was a liberation. It was a moment to say that no one else could dictate my success or failure. It's up to me. I'm in this alone. It's the moment that I need to make a decision and say, hey, this is something that I need to do for myself. Because my father's gone, my mother's got her own shit going on. Brothers, sister, friends, they've all got their own.
Everyone's got their own families and their own path. Yeah.
And in the same way, like, I don't care about other people, my mates. I don't give a shit how they do. I care about how I'm doing, and that's the human condition, unfortunately. So,
but also, what an opportunity that you now at this point where you have the ability to then choose and not by default just
100%.
carry on.
Yeah. I love that word opportunity because actually when I was making notes for this to discuss it, the word I used was liberation. It was an opportunity, and that is what liberation is. It's an opportunity for freedom. And that's how I feel about it. I was like, fuck, here's a chance for you to go, yes, it's going to be shit, it's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to be difficult, but it's going to be good for you. So fucking do it. Take the chance, make the decision, take control of your destiny, and actually get out there and do it. It was tough, especially for me. I mean, again, not playing the victim here, but it's tough for me. I was in the paycheck trap. I was getting a very good salary in LA. I was getting paid in US dollars. You know, any South African's dream to get paid in US dollars and live in,
Sounds great.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, getting paid 20 to 1. And I had to leave that dream. I had to turn around and go, you know what? What's actually the value that I'm getting? Yeah, I'm getting monetary value, but the days are ticking by, and that's where the midlife crisis piece came in, going, oh, you know, your time's ticking on. And it was that midlife crisis, that life audit that I did at that time to say, hey, I'm not doing what I love. And I had to be very honest, and I encourage people to be very honest about where they are in their life. Be honest. Don't just think about it and acknowledge it and say, yeah, that's true, I can see that. But honestly think about it and go, is that actually true? What am I going to do about it?
And even if you're not happy with where you're at, then be honest about it to yourself.
Well,
even if you're not intending to change it.
100%. Even if you're spot on, even if you're not intending to change it, at least know that you're being honest about it. All right, I'm not really happy, but I've got 3 kids, I've got private school fees I've got to pay, I've got a car I've got to pay. There's nothing I can do about this. I'm actually stuck. But I can honestly say that I'm not enjoying it. Because when that honesty comes in, all of a sudden you'll start finding new ways there'll be opportunities, and I believe in that. And we'll talk a little bit about that in future episodes about the way that we can take control of our own destiny using things like the reticular activating system and putting things out into the earth and saying, hey, bring this opportunity to me because I need it. I'm not happy, and I've acknowledged that now. And you'll never get there if you don't. So it brought me to this mindset that I'm in now, this Exitpreneur mindset that I'm in. And that mindset is I kind of came up with this word Exitpreneur in terms of, I knew about what an entrepreneur was, I knew what an entrepreneur was, which I learned from Andy Frisella. I don't see it really out there, but an entrepreneur being someone that I was working in a business, I was entrepreneurially minded, I was coming up with ideas, I was being creative and fixing problems, but I was doing it within a business. Entrepreneurs do all of that stuff, but they do it for themselves outside the business. I needed to become that Exitpreneur, to leave that business and walk away and say, hey, no longer happy being an entrepreneur, I need to be an entrepreneur. This process of me becoming that is the Exitpreneur process. So it's about taking ownership of the path. It's about exiting the comfort zone and saying, hey, I'm not waiting for permission anymore, because that's what you do when you work for someone else, is you wait for permission. And
you wait for a sign.
Yeah, 100%.
Like winds around towns, and something's going to happen.
Right.
So like, push me.
Exactly. And the irony is we all often sit there waiting for a sign or waiting for permission. And the people we're working for, I'm telling you that for free, they don't want you to do that. They want you to come in with initiative and take ownership and say, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm not waiting for your permission, I'm going to do it. But because we work for them and they pay us a salary, we come in cap in hand once a month and say, hey, give me my money. We generally don't do that. We don't want to risk that. And it's a big trap that we fall into. So it was also like within the business, I was starting to stagnate. There was this feeling that my identity was no longer one of somebody who toes the line, pays the piper, carries on with what's required, shows up to the meeting, smile on, happy to do what's required of the business, rather somebody who actually wants to take risks and actually wants to be different and to try different things. And to my partner and my CEO's credit at the business, he saw it in me. He said it to me. He said, hey, it was very obvious to people around me. My business coach said it to me. My sister and my mom even said, they could see it in me, that there was something about me that was not doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I think for me, one of the moments that really hit home was I was reading a book called about a guy named Jim Collins, very good, very actually great business strategist and great business writer, a book called Good to Great. And he, in it, describes the concept of a hedgehog, and he compares it to the concept of a fox. A fox, if you take a hedgehog and they're under attack by a fox, the hedgehog balls up into a little ball, and they protect it. The fox can try 50 different things to get inside. They cannot get inside. The hedgehog, all they have to do is one thing, and they protect themselves, and life is good. But the fox will keep trying 50 different things to try and get inside. And it's the same concept he was talking about, Jim Collins was talking about it in the context of a business. Like a business that does one thing exceptionally well is always going to be a business that goes from good to great. Whereas a business that does 50 things pretty well but not great is never going to get to that good to great status. And I applied it to myself thinking, what can I do to become what can I do that I could become the best in the world at? Because that's what somebody who does one thing really, really well becomes, is the best in the world. Michael Jordan became the best in the world at basketball because he did one thing. He didn't go out there and play 50 different sports. He did one sport. Elon Musk, okay, a lot of people don't like, but he's become the best in the world at something because he's put his mind to it and he's done one thing exceptionally well. Everybody who's reached the top and become the best in the world at what they do, they've done one thing exceptionally well. They're only 50 different things. Applied that to myself thinking, here I am sitting in this job and I'm never going to become the best in the world at this job. It's not possible for me to come. It's not my natural place. It's not my energy. It's not what I want to be doing, so I'm not going to do it. I have to go do something that I can become the best in the world at. So I've got, in order to find what that is, I've got to walk away. And it ties into other concepts like finding your inner genius and your purpose and all those things, which we'll go into another time. But it's about finding that niche, finding that where you can absolutely excel and be a total passion. I think about you. For me, you're a perfect example of that. Because you, in my opinion, I know you don't bang your drum enough.
I might differ.
You might disagree, but in my opinion, you are the best in the world at PR. So if you didn't catch the first episode, I introduced Simone a little bit. She runs a PR agency called Headlines. When I introduce her to people, I say she's an OG in PR. Like she's an old gangster in PR because when I was 22, 23 years old and a journalist at FHM magazine, Simone was one of those people that had a reputation this is 20 years ago, had a reputation already in the industry at that young age as like, no, her PR is on another level, big businesses. And I think that's what you are absolutely the best in the world at PR. That's what you do, it's your inner genius.
Well, I think we're good at what we do. I think
and you're very modest. You're the best in the world, be modest as well.
Well, no, I'm admitting, I think we're good at what we do.
Yeah.
The best in the world is...
Well, it's all relative, I think. But you get my point. Is like you are a hedgehog in PR. You have one thing, you do it exceptionally well. And I think that's why maybe also what kind of brought me towards asking you to be involved in this in the beginning with me is because I think your path that you've walked is ahead of me is one that I admire, and I like look at your business and I look at your accomplishments and I'm like, wow, that's somebody who's lived their purpose and lived their passion and made a success out of it, which I think is a big deal.
Thank you, but I think the difference is mine was more out of default.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't an active decision.
Yeah.
It was kind of, like I said earlier, a set of circumstances that led me to this, and it was just in it and then it...
Well, maybe you're just the best of the PR at being super smart and taking advantage of opportunities. You know what I mean? Like maybe if the opportunity that it presented was a coffee shop, you still would have found success in it. But that's, I guess, what an entrepreneur is, in a way, is a person who, whatever the opportunity comes...
And using contacts and connections and networking, I think there's a lot of value to be...
Well, that's what I've said to you for a long time. I think you are one of the best networkers that I've ever met. I don't think you recognize it in yourself, but I've watched you operate and I've watched your phone ring and I'm like, wow, this chick's connected. But you may not know, you may not recognize it in yourself. But we often don't. We don't recognize. That's what I think is so interesting is like I recognize it in myself that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to, but I think the CEO of the business also recognized it. To his credit, he saw it and he was like, this guy's not doing what he should be doing. It's not his purpose. And it was his purpose for a while. He learned a lot, and he's got a lot to teach now, but not in this business. And that's when...
Well, credit to him for acknowledging that as well.
100%. Listen, he's a super smart guy, and the podcast goes on, a lot more unpack about him in terms of like what I learned from him, because he is an exceptionally smart guy and a very capable human. And just because I left the business doesn't mean that there were problems, amongst us or in the business or anything like that. And I'll be eternally grateful to him because of what I learned with it. But it's one of those things where you need to go into a place which is your natural fit. And I feel like this podcast and like sharing the story orally with people is one of my natural purposes that I'm supposed to be doing. That's why I'm doing it. And I've got you who doesn't feel like that.
So we complement each other.
Yeah, exactly.
I had an intern years and years ago, a young girl that came really with no experience. I can't remember her exact qualifications, but she came in as a PR intern, and I could just also see there was just no passion for it. And the one day I sat her down, it was I think maybe 2 or 3 months in, and I sat her down and I said, what is it that you want to do? And she said, well, actually I want to be in radio.
Interesting.
I want to be, so I said, well, I had connections in radio, and I phoned and via set up an interview, and they employed her there and then.
Wow.
Started out reading traffic, then reading news, and now she's
Are you going to tell me it's like Anneli or something?
No, but soon will be.
Yeah. Wow, that's insane.
So, it's, I think, you're not going to get the best out of people if they don't want to be there.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, that's one of the things I learned over the years. Thankfully, in the role that I was in for 8 years, and even before that, when I ran my own agency and I was working with my old man's business and working at FHM, over the years, one of the things that I'm the most proud of, and I believe nobody ever figures this out fully, but you become stronger and stronger at it as you go, is hiring and firing, the HR piece, because it's absolutely essential. For me, it's one of the most important parts of any business, is getting that right.
I've never employed on CV.
Yeah.
I've always employed through word of mouth.
Yeah.
And I have been extremely, extremely lucky to have the most unbelievable team.
Well, maybe it's not luck, maybe it's process. The fact that what you just said, I never hired a CV, but only on referral is...
and chemistry, which is also like you can take to potential clients as well. 90-95% of if it's going to work with a client is whether or not you click.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because I had a policy I kind of came up with while I was at Global after we had a crisis over the years with our copywriting team, and then we just had to fire everyone and start again. And I made it a rent before you buy policy. Not the best terminology when you're talking about human beings, but it's the policy that I have now. It's 3-month trial, or even just do a project, kind of thing, because the proof is in the pudding. Otherwise, you are working with scam artists who are like, present themselves as the best person for the job, but then 3 months later, or 6 days later, you discover this person's not what they sold me. So it becomes a very difficult thing. But that's it. That's my what pushed me over the edge. That's what brought me to the point, the jumping off point. I think, in terms of passing on actions and takeaways from this, make your reason that you're going to do something a good one. For me, there is no better reason that I wasn't doing what I was passionate or could become the best in the world at. That's why I jumped. If your reason is because you are full of your job and you just don't want to work there anymore, make it a good one. Make whatever your reason is, make it a good one. And remember that even though I say nobody cares, some people do care, and we can't do things alone. That's why someone's sitting opposite me. Is that's the reason. As you say, as you go back to the first podcast, you'll see it's because you can't do things alone. And I know that we can ask for help, but make sure that you recognize that at the end of the day, it's on you. Like, whoever's helping you, whatever, they've got their own shit in their life, and they need to take care of it for themselves. So, another big reason for me, obviously, Sam, this will come in the future episodes as well, was, about my sickness when I was a kid. I had cancer when I was 12 years old, and from that day, 12, 13 years old, I made a vow to myself to never waste a single day. And I forgot about that over the years. You tend to get into this complacency because you're making good money, or that you're living in a cool city or whatever it is, and you get to a point where you're like, hey man, I forgot that I was never going to do something that wasn't meant to be for me, that didn't make me comfortable or actively made me uncomfortable. And here I am, living in a city that is lacquer. It's a cool city to live in, but really happy. I wake up in the morning, spend my days on Zoom calls and chatting to guys from other parts of the world that I'm not adding any value to, and they're not adding value to me. And like, life's short. You learned that at age 12 when you had a brain tumor removed. Like, you should be remembering it.
That's a wake up call.
Yeah.
Even at 12.
And yet, it took me a good few years to realize, to remember that and go, hey, life is short. Losing my dad, I think, was a big one, because he also was sick for many years. and then you realize, what's the difference, man? If you only have a certain amount of days on this earth, rather spend them doing something you love. I mean, it sounds stupid, like a platitude from Instagram, which I hate, but it is what it is. And
Well, it's only true if it is on Instagram.
yeah, 100%. So that's it, guys. Go out into the world this week. Go ask yourself, where are you playing it small because of fear? And what's one thing you can take today to get you to that place where you should be doing the thing that's going to make you the best in the world at?
Even if it is just one thing.
Yeah.
Like just take one
small
step.
thing.
Yeah.
Like, make that phone call about that coffee shop that you think you should be running, or whatever. Phone that friend who's running that business that you think you wanted to get involved in, but we're too scared to ask. Just make the call. You never know what's going to come out of it and where it could take you. Sim, thank you. See you in the next one.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, guys. Please give me the HBO special there, the Help a Brother Out special. Give it a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.